it makes me look inside when I hear something like that happen, because for me, I don't, when I think about how John should act, I think about, well, how would Christ act? Well, how would he react if a waitress got the order wrong? And I think, just like Honi was saying earlier, Jesus inside of us turns that situation around from the focus being on us, and my order wasn't right, to who is Jesus, and why is my reaction different than someone who's upset that they got their order wrong? And I think that's what I want, and that's what Jesus has done in my life, is he's helping me, and I don't get it right every time, but man, there's something inside of me that's so real. His presence, I can tell you, I'm not who I was. That anger, that hatred is not there anymore. And that's why it matters to me, because I think a lot of people can get confused in regards to being a Christian or being a follower of Jesus. And I know those terms are kind of used synonymously, and that's okay. But for me, there's a great distinction. I don't want to be just a Christian in name only, because that's not who I am anymore. Jesus has miraculously defied explanation in my life and has taken the anger away. And for me, that's huge. And other people, I'm sure, don't wrestle with that problem. But for me, that was so real in my life. I can remember telling my folks when I was in high school, I can remember riding in the car with them and telling them, I don't like people. I hate people. And I'm like, I knew that wasn't right, but it was so inside of me. And then in high school, I was, I didn't like who I had become. And I asked Jesus to do something in me that I felt was impossible. And that was to take that anger, to take that hatred out. And he did. And I thank him, because I have a different way of looking at life now. And like I said, I get it wrong sometimes, probably a lot, but I'm so thankful that I'm not who I was back then. And that's only because of Jesus. It's not because of a title. You know what I mean?
No.
Hi, I'm John. I'm a barber, and I have a shop here in Polo, but I also have a pastor church in Dixon called Living Well. And we're getting ready to do a sermon series coming up in August. And the title's kind of edgy. It is called Living Hell. And I was actually thinking about, the things that are going on in our world today. A lot of people would describe their life as kind of a living hell right now. And so, as I read the scripture, I know that there are some things that the Bible has to say that really help us to move from what I believe life feels like sometimes, living hell, to living well. Let me just kind of quickly give you a rundown on how this series kind of fleshes out about God. The second one is the living hell of hunger without humility. This is the story of James and John when their personal pride got offended, and they asked Jesus when they had went out to a town and they weren't accepted very well. They came back and said, shall we just call down fire from heaven and just obliterate them? And Jesus has to temper their response. And so we're talking with that one about the living hell of hunger without humility.